Hey guys, and welcome back to Mangotology. If you're new here, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Steven Mango, and I'm an ex-Scientologist that works here on YouTube to expose Scientology. So if you want to stay up to date on all my videos, please make sure to go down below and hit that red subscribe button, as well as turn on your bell notification so you get alerted whenever I release a new video exposing Scientology. Now, today's video is going to be a little bit crazy of a story because we are going to be talking about an ex-Scientologist turned Scientologist named Ginger Sugerman. This got brought about, if you don't know who she is, then we're going to get into that in today's video, but this got brought on because I got a notarized letter from Ginger, which we're going to be showing you, which is very creepy about her return going back into Scientology after her Scientology critic husband shot her in the face, and then he died by suicide, and there's just a lot of different twists and turns in this story, so if you want to hear, then keep on watching. Hey guys, so I am actually getting ready to go on my trip with Jeff for my birthday, which is on Friday, July 5th. So I wanted to post this video before going away, and I come back Sunday night, I believe. So I think my next video will be Monday of next week. So I wanted to at least get one more video out before I go on my birthday trip with Jeff. So let's get into today's story. Now, I don't normally check my Facebook messages really, particularly in any way, because it's not really like my main social media app or anything that I use. I primarily stick to Instagram, Twitter, obviously YouTube, between my two YouTube channels, and I don't really spend a lot of time on Facebook. And I don't actually accept friend requests from people I don't know, so if you've ever requested me, it's nothing personal, just because of my history with the Scientology cult, and due to spies and private investigators and people Scientology tries to send to infiltrate into your life. I don't really accept friend requests from people I don't know, just FYI, and I don't really read my messages there. I do check my emails from you guys and stuff like that, but in terms of Facebook, I'm very rarely checking my messages there. For some reason, and I don't know if everyone has this or if it's like a privacy setting, but on my Facebook Messenger settings thing, I have it where I have like my main Facebook messages from like people I'm already accepted as a friend, and then there's like some other category of messages. So I went on my other messages and I saw one from this woman named Ginger Sugerman, and I was really confused because I know who she is due to her relationship with her now deceased spouse, but I never met her personally. I know she did maybe a couple of videos here or there, possibly. I know she did something with Karen de la Carriere at one point, or the Angry Gay Pope. I'm not really sure 100%, but I know that she did speak out at one point because she is the wife of very prominent Scientology critic Erma. We'll explain who that is and his relevance to the Scientology critic community in just 10 seconds or 15 seconds from now. So I check my message and I get one from Ginger, and it included this notarized letter. So very weird. I'm gonna explain what the significance of this letter is as well, but let's get into who she even is and why you guys should even care or know of this story. So Erma was a very prominent Scientology critic. He was most known, from my understanding, for releasing the Xenu OT3 alien story onto this website called Alt Religion Scientology, which was like a news group. I don't know if it even exists anymore, if there was an archive of it or anything like that, but I do know that at one point he was important enough to have been involved in Scientology exposing and criticism and all of that before it became something of a more normal thing, where a lot of people do it now or are more comfortable speaking out, given that many other people have come forward, such as Leah Remini, people like myself, and others who make themselves very prominent online or on television or in the news and show that, like, hey, I'm not afraid, I'm going to speak up and tell my story, and that inspires other people and more people start doing it. But back 20, 30 years ago, for example, it was taboo, and it's not like back in those days as well that you can just get your camera, film someone, and then put it on YouTube. You don't have this. And then again, if you try to film something back in those days, what are you going to do? Try to get a news program to report it, and maybe they're having some sort of ties to Scientology, and then they're not going to post the news story of your video, and you just get your free speech squashed because other people are afraid to go up against this big entity. Nowadays, if Scientology showed up to my front door, I can grab my camera in 5 seconds, film them, and put them on the internet to millions and millions of people. So they know not to do that with people like me and other like very big critics, because we are easy to expose them. Now, if you're someone who's maybe like newly coming out of Scientology, more impressionable or moldable in a way, or they know that you're going to be playing by their rules, they'll go ahead and fair game you very easily, or they'll play different tricks on you and stuff like that. But the point being was, when Arnie was doing his Scientology critic work, it was before you could feel safe in a way doing so. Now, he was married to a woman by the name of Ginger Sugerman. Now, Ginger was a Scientologist, became a ex-Scientologist after she experienced different things in Scientology. I don't know her full story. I know she might have had some type of connection to the Way to Happiness Foundation. I may be mistaken on that, so correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who's watching this. But from my understanding, she left Scientology and connected up with Arnie. Now, I heard a rumor, I don't know if it's true, but she said something along the lines to him near the end of his life, where she admitted she was some type of OSIS spy, or she was trying to get back in a good standing with Scientology and was reporting on him. I don't know if that's true or not, but I did hear some type of rumor, and that's what kind of set Arnie off into like kind of like a tailspin. Again, that could be just a rumor, so I'm gonna state it as such without saying that's fact, but that's just something that I heard through the grapevine, and that may or may not be true. Now, Arnie also had this website called Lermanet, which is important because we're going to be getting to that at the end of the story. Now, this was a website, again, that was posting, you know, like the Fishman affidavit, which he posted, that had OT level scripture, if you will, or materials posted within that affidavit. And he posted, again, other Scientology related criticism and news and articles, and it was basically a big resource of Scientology critical information, if you will, on this website. Now, I don't know exactly how long Ginger and Arnie were actually together for. I assume it was for a number of years, but there came a point where Ginger was going from posting on these different ex-Scientology groups to, like, say, for example, you know, unfriending people, or I don't even know. I think I was maybe friends with her at one point on Facebook. I'm not entirely sure. I think I was, but I wasn't at the time. I never had like a conversation with her, to my understanding. I didn't see any thread of message in our thing, so I don't know if I've ever really talked to her. I did talk to Arnie in the past before he passed away. Not a lot, but maybe just like a couple messages back and forth after I released my video inside the Scientology Celebrity Center, which is here on my channel, which I highly recommend. If this is the first video that you're watching of mine, go check that out. It's the very first video on my channel. It has like almost 2 million views, I think. 2.5 hour long video of my full story inside Scientology. I'm throwing this in there, guys. I know a lot of you are my returning subscribers. Every single video I get emails and messages of people asking me about my time in Scientology, so let me just throw that out there. If this is the first video you're watching, I do have my full 2.5 hour story on my channel, so check that out if you haven't seen it. But let's actually cut a little bit forward, because I don't have to go through the whole entire history. You guys can Google Arnie Lerma, Google Ginger Sugerman. You guys can find more information. I know that Tony Ortega's blog has different articles and different things about this situation, but we're going to get right into what actually happened as of last year. So last year, Arnie went and shot Ginger in the face. And after he shot Ginger in the face, he basically turned the gun on himself, and he died by suicide. And I don't know what set Arnie off into a rage. Maybe it had to do something about her going back into Scientology. Maybe it's something according to one of my rumors that I stated a little bit earlier about her claiming that she was an OSIS spy. Again, it's not even important for the story to really, you know, it was a tragic event. But by any means, Ginger started posting on other ex-Scientology groups and Facebook and other websites collecting donations. So this is what Ginger actually had to say about her incident with being shot by Arnie, as well as the GoFundMe page, what she was saying, and how much money that she actually raised, because again, she's asking for support from the ex-Scientology community, as of like, say, a year ago from this event. So let's take a peek and see what she had to say. There was a GoFundMe called Help Ginger Recover with $6,165 raised. The next GoFundMe was called Help Pay Medical Bills for Shot Victim, and she says, in March, I was shot in the face by an attempted murderer. He was my husband, then took his own life. I have had 4 surgeries and need to continue seeing my corrective plastic surgeon and getting medication. I've come to a point where I need more help. I appreciate anything you can do at all. Every little bit counts. Thank you in advance. You can look up the shooting under my name. It happened in Savannah, Georgia. Ginger Sugerman, Arnoldo Lerma. She goes on to say on the GoFundMe, Arnie's autopsy was signed by me immediately when requested by the coroner. It came back with the truth. Destructive rumors are being spread by others who should focus on peace, love, and Arnie, not drama and evil intentions. With all your help, I have paid fully for his cremation services and an attorney to go to court with. The others involved hired one, so I was forced to do so. Now any donations will go towards medical and dental. XOXOXO to you all from Arnie and Ginger. Then she goes on, and there was a post on an Ex-Scientology message board that describes, in Ginger's words, more about her husband's passing and what was actually going on between her and him and their life together. You guys can pause if you have interest in actually reading the full entire post. I'm not going to read it all to you. I'm just going to read here on the second part of the posting from Ginger, where she had her conclusion. She says, my conclusion on why my husband did what he did. 1. He had horrible PTSD and paranoia from the things Scientology did to him over the years. We, or he, would leave the house each time and put a hair in the door to know if someone came in. 2. Drugs he was abusing increases paranoia as they are some of the side effects of oxycodone. 3. He had a psychotic break on March 16th and believed I was an OSA spy planted to get him. This may or may not have been fueled by others he was talking to. I can't prove that. I believe it happened and others are to blame for contributing to his paranoia. Now, obviously, this is a very touchy subject and a very tragic event, and I think it's horrible that Ginger had to experience any form of violence by Arnie before he died by suicide. I obviously just want to point that out there. It's not something that I want to further speculate or anything on. We already heard what Ginger had to say and what the situation actually entailed. And like I was saying, she was raising money, and a lot of ex-Scientologists were coming to her support to help her, to offer her, whether it was financial means, medical help. She was always constantly on ex-Scientology groups asking for money for various things. I know people were giving her money, and it was one of those type of situations. So this fast forwards us to, I think, the 24th of June. I didn't check my message until 2 days ago, or maybe it was yesterday even, because I think I was filming or trying to film this yesterday and the video turned out bad, or the lighting or whatever, so I'm refilming it again. But I got this Facebook message like I was trying to tell you guys about, and then I clicked on the letter, and it was a notarized letter. So I'm just going to read it to you guys, show you, and then we're going to discuss. Public announcement. I left Scientology because I observed things that individual staff members and other Scientologists had done. Instead of writing up reports on the individuals so the Church of Scientology could take action to correct them, I got very angry and left. I blamed the Church of Scientology as a whole. I then began connecting myself up to other declared suppressives, which only fueled my anger more, and I began publicly attacking the Church. After a long, hard look at it and evaluating both sides, Church and ex-members community, I can see how ignorant I was, and my attacks on the Church are totally unfounded. ML, which stands for Much Love, Ginger. Now, could you guys imagine getting that letter, like how creepy it is to actually get something like that? And Scientology wants to try to pretend like they're normal in some kind of fashion or respect. It's like, who does this where you have to write up an announcement and say, going back in a good standing? And I'm going to explain what that actually means and what she's actually doing with this type of letter. But just as like someone who's been out for a while and looks at that, it's kind of like, wow, like that's really creepy and weird and cultish. And even one of my best friends, she was telling me, and I showed her, and she's like, wow, look, I'm glad you're not a part of this group anymore, because they're just like batshit, like out of their mind. Like if I ever sent a letter like that to any of you guys, honestly, in the future, if something ever weird happens, and I don't know why I just thought of this, but I'm putting this out there in camera in the public. If you guys ever see a letter like that from me, or my channel gets shut down, or like something weird happens, it wasn't ever for my doing. It is Scientology, and something bad is happening, and I'm just putting that out there. And you guys save this little clip of video in case that ever happens in a couple of years. You can use this video clip as evidence of me saying that Scientology got control of me in my mind or something, and I am not okay, and please help me. I'm just saying that. But in this case, it seems like she voluntarily is trying to get back into good standing with Scientology. Now, people will be wondering, like, why? You're with one of the most prominent Scientology critics, married to them. You were in Scientology, you left. Why would you be going back into good standing? Now, some people say it's because she may have kids in that she's trying to maintain relationship with, possibly, or she's trying to get back into good standing. According to her letter, it's obviously Scientology wrote that and told her to sign the letter, so it's part of her doing her step B of her A to E steps to get back into good standing with Scientology. And with the whole kid things, I know other people are missing their children. I know Lori Hodgson has 2 adult kids that are in that she fights for a lot, and there's many other families that have been ripped apart by Scientology's disconnection policy. I can only imagine what that's like, being like, say, a dad or a mother and having their kids never want to talk to them because they're in Scientology and they have like a cult that's kind of splitting them up in a way. I can imagine. But on the other hand, if you play by Scientology's rules, then nothing gets fixed for the future. And that's honestly the way that I like to look at it. Like, maybe she'll go and play Scientology's rules, get back into good standing, and see the kids. On the other hand, what about all the other families that are split apart? If everyone kind of bands together and fights Scientology's disconnection policy, then maybe Scientology one day may, let people see their families. Or maybe if people just disagree, or the kids will come out because they're going to want to see their family. I don't really know what the answer to that is. I wish I did, but I just don't think playing by Scientology's rules is good, because you're giving them more power by going back into good standing or doing condition formulas or anything like that. You're then going and abiding by Scientology's rules and procedures, and I don't think that's the right way to do it. So there might be some of that going on. Maybe she didn't really want to leave Scientology to begin with, and it was just something that, she didn't, I can't say. I don't know what's going on in her brain. I mean, obviously, if you're going back into good standing, like, something's not really quite right upstairs in the head. But I also saw this post by a prominent ex-Scientologist talking online about Ginger. So I'm just going to show you their message just because I think it's just an interesting point to throw out there.
Ginger Sugerman was always a grifter, and one who relies on fundraising and receiving other people's money instead of working a job. Many of us gave her generous donations at the time Arnie Lerma shot her. Then we learned from blank that she had decided to do A to E to get back in good standing with the cult. She apparently feels she will have access to her kids, who have disconnected from her if she does A to E. This is her doubt formula she is sending around.
Maybe all along Ginger was a little bit off, or maybe she was kind of maybe ripping off the ex-Scientologist. I don't think that in the case of like the health thing, I mean, I think that was horrible, and it was great that people came to her support, but she's willing to go back to a group such as Scientology that would, never think of you twice unless you're willing to, fork over money. In that sort of case, if she was like, oh, I got shot in the face and she was in Scientology, they would be like, pay us money to audit you. You know what I mean? They wouldn't say, oh, like, let's give you a donation to help you with your medical bills. It's never anything where Scientology would ever give you money for any sort of case, even something in like a tragedy such as that. So Scientology only is willing to use you if you have money, or you're able to give them time to dedicate to like the Sea Org or staff or stuff like that. So that's just what I mean by that. Like, the ex-Scientologists were there for her in a dark time, and it's like, oh, she used them, and now when she feels it's the right time, now she goes back into Scientology. And I don't know. I think you guys I'm trying to get what I'm trying to say is that the ex-Scientologists were the ones to accept her in, and then she kind of betrayed them, and maybe she was a spy all along. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe she was set up to be with Arnie Lerma, and she was going to be reporting on him to Scientology. Maybe this was part of a plan to get her back into good standing. Maybe she was declared and she wanted to get back into good standing. They say, hey, report on him for 15 years or something, right? So who knows what was going on. What I think was really shady, which happened in March of this year, was, remember I told you about the website Lermanet? Well, Lermanet, Arnie's website, was shut down by Ginger.
When you go on the Lermanet website, it shows it is shut down. It also says on the top that this domain has expired.
Now, this should have been the sign all along that something wasn't quite right here with this Ginger, that she was maybe a spy or something was going on. She was maybe trying to get back into good standing, because why would you then go and delete his website, this whole critical website? One of the biggest ones in terms of, besides like a Tony Ortega or someone, this was kind of before even that time. she went and she deleted the whole entire website. So again, that was probably part of these conditions and the A to E steps that she's been doing to get back into good standing. So she deletes that website, and I think it's just so shady. And I think Scientology thinks of this, or thinks of that as like a huge win. Like, wow, we got, the website shut down, like ka-ching, like, we're kind of handling the internet and shutting down all the critical websites and all that. It's like, Scientology doesn't realize they're like 100 years behind. Like, they're still doing telex. They don't even have like modern technology in that sort of regard to really understand social media or the internet or how that works. There's archives of that website, I'm sure. 1 million people can mirror it and put it back up on the internet. If my videos ever disappeared, I'm hoping you guys save all my videos and repost them up one day. You know what I mean? It's just like that type of thing where you can't erase everything from the internet. You can't erase Scientology's history. You're not going to get Going Clear off HBO, for example, or articles from the New York Times, or court affidavits, or any of these type of things are still going to be out there for hundreds, if not millions of years to come, unless Scientology buys Google or something and they find a way to erase every critical thing about Scientology. And maybe that's the future. I don't know. But I just think that Scientology really wants to handle their critics and shut them up and shut them down. And it's like, well, you really can't when there's the internet. If this was 30, 40 years ago, maybe in like the newspaper days, then you can kind of bury things, hide things under a pile, if you will. But in today's generation, in 2019, I don't think Scientology knows what to do, because any person with a brain in today's generation is going to Google Scientology before really getting invested into the org. You could say the same criticism of me. I should have done that in 2009 or something. But so many things have blown up since 10 years ago that I think anyone, and I want to do a video about this, just asking people, like, what's your viewpoint on Scientology? Like, what do you think? What do you know? People are going to say cult, cult, cult. I'm just assuming. I don't think anyone's going to be like, oh, it's great, it's wonderful, unless they're totally unassuming. I think most people know, not that they know of Scientology, like what it is, they just know that it's like bad, stay away, cuckoo, Tom Cruise. And that's all people really need to know. If that's all it takes to get people to avoid it, yes, there's so much more, but as long as you know that, then you might be saving your mind, your finances, your health, like everything. So I wanted to explain what this letter is, because it really creeped me out. I'm like, am I on some type of OSA list or something? Did she turn in my name as like someone that she might have been in contact with in terms of ex-Scientologists, which I wasn't in contact with her, but maybe from these other Facebook critic groups. Maybe she wrote down everyone's name. Maybe OSA sent her a list of names and said, hey, on Facebook or Twitter, however you're connected to these ex-Scientologists, send them this letter and this announcement. You're going back into good standing, and strike an effective blow to the enemy, which would be us as ex-Scientologists. Now, you might not know what that means. I'm going to explain. But I think that's what she was doing, was trying to strike a blow to the enemies and denounce herself from being a part of that group. And now she's going to be back in a good standing with Scientology in the future. She's only on step B. It's A to E. So there's several other letters that she has to complete in order to get fully back in a good standing. Now, if you're asking, and I don't know why you would, but like, how, would you be able to get back in a good standing? Like, if you left Scientology, or like, what's the case about that? And I think you could in certain instances. If you're someone like me, it would be a long journey to get back in a good standing if I was trying to get back in a good standing type of thing. Me, I'm a different case. Very vocal, big critics, people going on television, that's one thing. If, for example, I was in Scientology and say I'm straight, pretend I'm not gay, I'm straight, my mom and dad are in Scientology, I left, maybe I made a little blog post once, or I'm just like, I don't want to do it, or it's weird, it's creepy, it's a cult, I get declared. I never speak out really or do anything weird. My parents are Scientologists. I want to be connected to them, get back in a good standing. Then I could do my A to E steps, whatever, and probably get back in a good standing if I'm willing to devote to retraining, because you have to go back to the bottom of the bridge. Even if you were OT8, class 12 auditor, you have to go back to like purification rundown and student hat on the training side, like the very, very basics, probably Dianetics book or whatever, like would be the very first introductory thing, because you have to train all the way back over again. You have to pay any debts off, which would include like a freeloader bill. And that's another thing. If you like, let's say, left the Sea Org and you want to get back into good standing, because I think you get declared when you leave the Sea Org now, you would then do your A to E steps, pay off your freeloader bill, which is any dollar that Scientology invested into you while you were in the Sea Org. If you were doing any like courses or you trained as an auditor, they have like a running invoice for those services. If you had to pay for those courses, it might have been $60,000. So when you leave the Sea Org, they say, here's the $60,000 because you committed 1 billion years. You didn't fulfill the 1 billion years. So here's your freeloader bill, as if you didn't just work 80, 120 hours a week, right? And like you really worked for those courses in other ways, but Scientology tries to bill you. So again, if you try to, they'll never be able to collect on that in the real world, but if you want to go back into good standing with Scientology, you pay the 60 grand, you do all these different condition steps, which I'm going to show you which they are, and then you get back into good standing. If it was someone like me, I'm a different case, right? I don't have my family in or anything like that. I was someone who went in, spent my money, got scammed, and coming out and exposing them every single day. And for me to get back into good standing, they'd be like, he's one of the biggest traitor enemies type of thing. So it's not the same situation. So I'm sure you guys can see the parallel or the difference between those type of cases versus someone like me trying to get back into good standing. In her case, she did speak out. She was on videos. She was in critical groups, maybe not on the same level as I am. I maybe here, she was maybe like here or something like that, but it's still just very weird that she flip-flopped back in. Just wondering, like, why did Scientology tell her to send a letter to me? Like, I've never made a video about her, never talked about her. There was really no reason in my mind. So I know I'm declared just from me going in person to an org and them just verbally telling me, like, you've been declared, you know, you can't be in our org. Like when I went undercover once and never seen my declare. If it's not in writing, it's not true Scientology, right? So let me come into Celebrity Center. Let me see my declare. I want to see why you declared me, right? If I'm not declared, then I'm not an SP, right? So then I can walk into an org. But I'm not sending out their declares because you can only imagine, you know, they used to. Now it would be like Stephen Mango's a fag and he's gay and he's, you know, this type of criminal and blah, you know, they'll just make up all these sort of lies. I mean, I'm gay, but you know what I mean? That's not a lie, but you know, they'll have things where if those reports ever went live on the internet, it would be really embarrassing towards Scientology. So I want to show or tell you guys, I'm going to show you, because I still have my ethics book. I mean, I have all my Scientology books, and I'm going to show you guys the formulas. So in Scientology, you have to do like conditions and like these condition formulas. So you get assigned a condition, right? So you can be in the condition of danger, a condition of normal, a condition of affluence, and there's these various conditions. And you have to do these different steps in order to go up into better conditions. So you can be like on like the lowest point, almost like you guys have heard of like the tone scale, which is like 1-1, a sexual pervert, criminal, you're gay, versus like you could be at 40.0, which is serenity of beingness, the highest state. So it goes up antagonism, and then it goes up to boredom and normal, and like there's just these various scale that you travel up. They think every human goes up the tone scale in that way. Same thing with these condition formulas. If you get stuck in a condition of emergency, you have to do these different steps. So Ginger had to, most likely, because of what she said in her letter, do a condition of doubt. I believe that was what she was probably assigned. Now in this, which we're going to read, it's basically kind of what she said in her notarized letter, that she had to look at both sides, the critical side of Scientology and Scientology, and then look from like an honest perspective, and then make a decision on which side you kind of want to be on. So let's take a look and see what this condition formula actually consists of doing.
For the doubt formula, it says, when one cannot make up one's mind as to an individual, a group, org, or project, a condition of doubt exists. Doubt formula. The formula is 1. Inform oneself honestly of the actual intentions and activities of that group, project, or org, brushing aside all bias and rumor. 2. Examine the statistics of the individual, group, project, or org. 3. Decide on the basis of the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics whether or not it should be attacked, harmed, or suppressed, or helped. 4. Evaluate oneself or one's own group, project, or org as to intentions and objectives. 5. Evaluate one's own or one's group, project, or org statistics. 6. Join or remain in or befriend the one which progresses towards the greatest good for the greatest number of dynamics, and announce that fact publicly to both sides. 7. Do everything possible to improve the actions and statistics of the person, group, project, or org one has remained in or joined. 8. Suffer on up through the conditions in the new group if one has changed sides, or the conditions of the group one has remained in if wavering from it has lowered one's status.
Now, if she really had to do a doubt formula, she would have actually had to really look at the group statistics, and she has to look at like the group's performance, and like she has to really like look at the real truth of the group. Scientology is going to show, like, look, we opened up these new orgs in this country, in this place, and we got all these kids off drugs, and they're going to show their true, what they say is their true side, but the true side is really like declining stats, declining orgs, like all these horrible things are happening to people every single day. I hear about it. I'm on the critical side. I know what's happening to people every single day. I've been following Scientology now for 10 years, and I was involved for a number of years, and for me, you can't trick me. Maybe for someone like that, you know, she sees that side, and then Scientology brainwashes her, and they show her the other side, say, look at these critics, you know, Mike Rinder, he beat his wife, allegedly, according to Scientology, like, look at this person and that person, and you know, they'll go through the list. Leah Remini, and she's a failed TV actress who's trying, you know, in their mind, and who's trying to make a buck off her former religions. So they will come up with all these lies about the ex-members. So then it kind of, the condition formula, basically, to me, it's a way to brainwash the person to get deeper in the Scientology fold. This is like classic brainwashing to people to reaffirm something in their mind. Like if they were in a doubt, like, I'm not sure if I believe in this or not, it's basically a way to condition you to believe what Scientology wants you to believe. So she probably had to do various conditions. And besides doing the various conditions, you have to do your steps A to E. And they've revised this over time. I'm not sure if my edition is what I'm going to show you is the newest one. I know that they have different steps now in terms of having to pay various amounts of money to get back into good standing, to donate towards certain projects, and they want to make it beneficial to them as well. If you have to write some sort of declaration that may help them in another form of a court case against Scientology, you have to lie, you have to be willing to do Scientology's dirty work to get back into good standing. So you're going to be doing these A to E steps, and we're going to get into them and show you, and then we're going to discuss. So let's take a look.
If a person or group that has committed a suppressive act comes to his, her, or their senses and recants, his, her, or their only terminal is the International Justice Chief via the Continental Justice Chief, who A. tells the person or group to stop committing present-time overts and to cease all attacks and suppressions so he, she, or they can get a case gain. B. requires a public announcement to the effect that they realize their actions were ignorant and unfounded, and stating, where possible, the influences or motivations which cause them to attempt to suppress or attack Scientology. Get it signed before witnesses and published broadly, particularly to persons directly influenced or formerly associated with the former offender or offenders. The letter should be calculated to expose any conspiracy to suppress Scientology or the pre-clear or Scientology if such existed. B1 requires that all debts owed to Scientology organizations or missions are paid off. B2 may require that, subject to the approval of the International Justice Chief, an amends project suitable and commensurate with the severity and extent of the suppressive acts committed be completed before further A to E steps are undertaken. Before any such amends project is begun, the person must submit an amends project petition to the International Justice Chief using full CSW and stating what he proposes to do as amends, as this must be approved by the International Justice Chief to be considered valid. Evidence of genuine ethics change may be required before approval of the amends project is given. C. requires training beginning at the lowest level of the bridge at their expense if executives in charge of training will have the person or the group members. D. makes a note of all the above matters with copies of the statement and files in the ethics files of those concerned. E. informs the International Justice Chief and forwards a duplicate of the original statements which shows signatures.
So you guys have to do an amends project, and you have to work with the IJC, and I know other people who have just tried to contact the IJC when they've been declared. I think Tori Chrisman has talked about this on her channel, and other people that, you know, because you're an SP, they don't answer the phone. You can't go into an org in order to get a refund, for example, if you're declared, and you can't go through like Scientology's procedures to get the refund. But the only way to go through Scientology's procedures to get the refund are to be in good standing. But why would you be getting a refund if you're in good standing, for example, right? So there's just various like loopholes and weird things in Scientology. But when you're an SP, you have basically no terminal, unless they probably feel like, hey, if we get this person back in, we can use them for this type of purpose or that kind of purpose. And I think that's what Scientology is up to. Like, oh good, she's a multi-millionaire, we can get her to donate money. Oh good, she's poor and she's desperate. We'll get her into the Sea Org and she can be an auditor one day. Or there's probably some reason to that. Also because they know that her kids are in, that they can kind of manipulate her more because they know that she wants that relationship with her children. So that's what I think is going on with that situation. Again, if you guys want me to do a video about more about maybe other more technical Scientology things, like talking more about ethics or talking more about auditing, like what is it like when you first go into an org, like you check into the HGC and then you get your auditor, and then this is what happens in a session, or doing TRs. I think I should do like a TR demonstration with Jeff possibly. I know I have to do some legal videos. I mean, the possibilities are endless for this channel. I just want to know what you guys really want to see. I know that you guys are interested in a lot of Shelley Miscavige videos, and you guys are interested in a lot more of current events versus like, yes, I can talk about policy letters from 1975. I just don't know if you guys are interested in hearing that from me. So please let me know what you guys are interested in. And I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this whole Ginger Sugerman situation in the comment box down below. What would her reasoning be? Like, I've been thinking about this over the last day or two. Like, why would she go back? Like, is it enough just like because you want to be in a relationship with your kids? Or brainwashing? Or is it abuse? Is it Stockholm syndrome, where you love your abuser and you want to go back? She's glamorizing it in her head in some way. Like, it might be all of those different things, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you like this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to turn on your bell notifications to get an alert whenever I release a new video. Subscribe. I probably have said that 100 times, but make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Let's try to get to 100,000 subscribers on this channel, be the biggest Ex-Scientology channel on YouTube. Check out Mango Tea if you're interested in beauty drama, the whole Jaclyn Hill lipstick situation. If you're interested in makeup drama, go on over to Mango Tea. I do beauty drama over on that channel. I talk about influencers, I gossip. It's a little bit more fun than, you know, talking about dark things such as Scientology being a criminal cult. And yeah, I'm gonna be away for the next couple of days, like I said, for my birthday, guys. Thank you all for sending birthday messages already in advance, and I love you all. And keep up with me on social media at Steven Mango if you want to follow me. Maybe I'll post some Instagram stories or tweets and different things like that. So follow me on social media, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.